part 2 of the What If It Doesn't Go
As Planned.
The Alanna version.
We heard Steven's version, and we just it's not intended to be about us, but it's about impacting and unpacking actually things that we have gone through and plans that didn't happen, that we never knew how much affected us.
Well, and I think the ones that we specifically talk about, both with Steven's in the last episode and mine in this episode, are relatable and kind of like a plug and play. And for you guys to really start thinking about what of your plans didn't go the way you thought. I'm excited for you guys to hear this.
Check it out.
Perfect.
Welcome to the Mizell Show.
An inspiration for a new generation.
Hi, I'm Alanna Mizell, a loving mother of 2, a devoted wife to Steven, and an entrepreneur helping women realize their dreams and potential.
And I'm Steven Mizell, caring father of 2, a devoted husband to Alanna, and a driving force to help young men prepare for life after college football.
And if that wasn't enough, we're a biracial couple.
She was raised in the North, but I was raised in the South.
The only thing normal about our lives, who am I kidding? It's never normal around here. Join us for the Mizell Show.
Right now. Yo, we are back.
We are back. So last week we talked about just what if it doesn't go as planned.
Yeah, and I think we hit on a lot of things, especially in my journey. We talked about. Oh, by the way, we're recording this during a nap time, supposedly, and Briggs is raging.
So it's going well.
So it's co-hosted by Briggs
again. Take 2. Well, and even last week we hadn't planned on it being focused on Steven, but that's just kind of how it developed.
Yes, how it developed. And we were just talking through, because you had talked about this on one of your Instagram Hump Day happenings about what happens if it doesn't go as planned. And we kind of just started talking about it. And then I think whenever you start thinking about moments that you sometimes push to the side or kind of brush off, like, that wasn't that big of a deal, it helps you to relive, like, oh, that was. Right. And you got a chance to hear a lot about little nuggets in my life that I kind of just, oh yeah, I did that. You're like, that's
right. Let's unpack that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was big, but also I think it's super important to lean on somebody else who knows you well, because the reason that we were able to unpack so much with Steven is because I know him very well, of course, but also because I didn't know all the details. So having somebody, as you're trying to work through what you're planning now, or maybe a current plan didn't go through the way that you thought it was going to, leaning on somebody who really knows you fundamentally well to kind of help you reflect on the times that plans didn't go the way that you thought, and yet it was strategically designed that way.
Yeah, and even to highlight some of the things that you missed when you didn't get the plan that you wanted, and that friend can kind of talk through what, hey, we struggled through like 6 application processes just to get this one.
Right.
You might not have got it, but at least you got through XYZ checkpoints.
Right.
Or you've gotten through whatever you're striving to go for. But I think something you hit on last episode that was really good was the big P and little P. In terms of, everybody has these.
Was that your favorite part of the last episode?
I mean, it was one of my favorite parts, but I think it really helped me also kind of break it down, because again, we get so caught up.
And let's go back and just kind of walk through. So the last episode, I kind of walked through how in therapy, there's big T, little t traumas. So you have your big T traumas that tend to mark your life more significantly sometimes than the smaller T. But a lot of smaller T's make up kind of how significant the big T is. So the same thing with plans. You've got your big P plans. I want to go to this college. I want to become a broadcast journalism at, ESPN, like Steven was searching for. But in between that, there had to have been small P plans in between to even get you there. And those are the monumental moments. That's the difference between having a goal and saying you failed at that goal, or having a goal, missing the mark, and seeing the growth.
Facts. Yeah, it's 100% true. And it kind of also goes back to, we try to give you guys little nuggets of what we're doing. And one of our favorite albums right now is Old Basement by Maverick City.
Maverick City connected with Elevation
Church. And it is phenomenal. If you haven't listened to it, listen. One of the songs we've been jamming to is A Million Things or
A Million Little Moments.
A Million Little Moments, I believe.
Is that it?
I don't know.
I get confused because there's also a TV show that I love.
Yes, what show is that? Again, what is it called?
A Million Little Things is the name of the show. Anyway, it's about how there's so many benefits that are happening throughout your day that there are a million things to be grateful for.
A million little miracles, they called it.
A million little miracles. That's it. Okay. So a million little miracles. So they're little, fundamentally
yes.
that you've woken up. You know, that sounds nominal. Like, of course I woke up. But it is actually a miracle that you were able to get up. It's, if you live in the United States, in an area that you readily can have water, that's a miracle. The fact that you now have a phone to which you could hear a voice of two people that are in Memphis, Tennessee doing a podcast, that's a miracle. The fact that you can hear, every time you hear something is a little miracle that could have a monumental change in your life. And so many times we just want the big miracles that maybe were the Bible stories that you're thinking of. But if you actually break down the biblical stories, they are small miracles. You're talking about a woman who only needed to touch the garment of Christ. Yeah. That's a small miracle in Christ's eyes or in other people's eyes when you actually look at what's happening, but is monumental to her.
Yeah, another good one that we kind of lean on is the fact that when the disciples were in the boat and Peter was the only disciple that decided to go out and walk, he didn't walk all the way to Jesus. He walked just a little bit. And then he, fell in his faith, all that. We know the story. But Big P, he didn't go all the way out, but at least he stepped forward and he got a little bit. And then, of course, we know the rest of the story. But I think it's something that as we continue to talk through, is the fact that you're able to hold on to those things. And so as we talk about you and your journey and how we are here today, let's kind of talk through. I mean, like, I'm not going to say we sit here and because we're guilty of it too. We don't remember our miracles every single day.
No,
we definitely don't. But unpacking me and things didn't go as planned. I don't want to put you in a box, but I would love to hear some of those.
Put me in a box.
Put you in a box. Some of those big P's that happened to you. And maybe we can find some more little P's in there as we kind of walk through this.
Yeah. So I guess what we're saying is listen to how we work through our big P's feeling like a gut punch to determine what the small P's were for the
straight knockout punch.
Straight knockout. Yeah. Well, where do you want me to start?
I mean, there's a lot. As we all have talked, if you listen to podcasts, we give you guys a lot of our Mizell Show baggage. But I think one of the most monumental ones that I think you dealt with, that you struggled with, is the fact that you were a stud and you were like on your way to a division scholarship and like on your way, and then boom, the injury. A lot of people don't know about your injury and the torn labrum and car accident and buying a car and drive, all that stuff.
Oh, after. Yeah. Okay. Great question. So I started playing travel softball when I was, 10?
Yeah.
In the 11 league. So there was 3 of us that were younger playing up. And that was, I don't know how I made it. I think it was sheer willpower and work ethic. There were definitely people there that were more qualified than I was.
Yeah.
Especially of the younger age. So I made that team, and I played with that team up until I was a junior in high school.
So let's break this down for our
non-athlete
softball is somewhat big in the South.
Yeah.
But in a lot of area, we're in Memphis, a lot of people listen. AAU basketball is like
so is it
kind of similar to AAU basketball?
Well, I don't really know too much about AAU
in terms of like
basketball.
Traveling and time
So we
commitment.
traveled in the summer. We traveled the weekend of Memorial Day all the way through until the end of August. The only weekends we had off were July 4th. Every weekend.
So you're at the ballpark all day, every day.
Maybe we tried to do 2 weekends off to where, and we would be either home. We had great facilities where I'm from in New Hampshire. So we would either be hosting a tournament in which all the parents pitched in to make that tournament happen.
Yeah.
or we were playing somewhere, all the way up to New York.
Yeah.
Some weekends. Those were actually some of our favorite tournaments were in New York. And it's also easier to get from state to state in New Hampshire. So, yeah, every weekend. And that means like Friday midday. Like our parents would take off probably half of a day, or we would go up with a different parent that had the day off. And we would typically you play Friday night. You want to play Friday night so you don't play as many games on Saturday. And like when I say play as many games, we typically played 3 on Saturday minimum. And then it just depended on when you lost.
Yeah.
There was one tournament, our state tournament, that it was home and it rained. We lost our first game, which is never fun because then you got to pull all the way back from the bracket. And we ended up playing a total of 21 games that weekend.
Jeez. 21 games.
21 games.
And you're what, 14, 15?
Yeah, we were probably 15 or 16, 15? I think. Okay. Yeah. We were exhausted.
Sure.
But yeah, I would say that's when talent is no longer what's going to get you there. It's team.
It's team.
And knowing that no matter how exhausted you are, like as an infielder, like my outfielder's going to have my back if I happen to make a mistake or like about to fall asleep on third base or whatever it might be. But yeah, so that was my summers, and I have incredible parents that paid for it, covered it, and things like that, but I also played field hockey, and so we played softball year-round. We had a couple weeks off in between it all, and then we would be in batting cages all winter long. Like, we played all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And it's just a matter of anything else great that you do in your life. It's a matter of consistency and repetition.
Yes.
So, and I think that's one of the small P's that I don't necessarily realize how much that instilled in me. Like that amount of work ethic and the amount of commitment to not quit on that team.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I wanted to for playing time or fill in the blank, right? You learn work ethic, you learn team environment, you learn loyalty, you learn that you are stronger than what your mind is telling you.
Yeah.
And so I also played field hockey. Had a couple camps, and I just had a knack for it. I started playing when I was in 8th grade. My freshman year, I was a swing player on the freshman and JV team. We were undefeated. We were good. Our field hockey team in high school was a dog-eat-dog world. We ran the first day of practice. We had 2-a-days in August, all August long. And the first day and last day, you run the gauntlet, which is you run a mile, you run a half a mile, you run a 400, and then you run a 100. All in a row.
All in a row.
And you try to not die. And you got to not be the last person. Because once the last person goes through, you got to start the next race. So, like, you can't be last running your mile because then you've got to go run a half a mile.
Yeah. You have no rest.
And everybody knows who didn't practice.
Yeah.
So, that's public school for you.
Exactly.
But you got to beat out the weak ones. And so, then my sophomore year, I was playing up on varsity. I was playing JV and varsity, which I'm grateful for. But while I was playing up on varsity, I was a goalie. And my cleat went over a ball. It was raining, and we were playing. My cleat was on top of a ball, and it slid because I was trying to clear it from the goal. And I thought I pulled my groin.
Yeah.
I remember we were in Salem, New Hampshire, and they were very challenging to play. So I thought I pulled my groin. I was like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, fast forward, couple weeks, I kept playing on it. I could not walk. Like, physically could not walk. Jeez. Season wasn't over yet. We were in the playoffs. I could not walk. We were just icing it to be numb during the game. And then in between, like, during timeouts, we'd literally stick ice down my goalie pants.
Yeah.
And during the last quarter, I had ice in my pants to play.
Yeah.
Because we just thought it was a pulled groin. Well, then I played on it for 2.5 years.
Hold on. You played for 2.5 years on a bad groin?
It wasn't my groin.
Oh, I know, but like
all along, it was not my groin.
But in your head, though, it was a growing, and so you just kept.
Well, not just my head. Like the trainers, we had great trainers at my high school. It was like 4 or 5 trainers. Okay. Everybody thought it was my groin because the tears were so small. But all of that to say, I had a number of cortisone shots. I had a handful of MRIs, and then we had to go to Boston because they just could not
figure out what's going on.
Right, they couldn't figure out what was going on. So come to find out, I had 3 labral tears in my right hip. So then I couldn't play.
Hold on, you had 3?
I had 3 labral tears in my right hip. So then I really couldn't play field hockey that season. I still was at every practice, though. Yeah. And then my senior year, my parents and I sat down and we were just like, is this the best thing for me right now? So my big plan would have been to play field hockey and softball in college. Did you know that I sell makeup? Not only do I sell makeup, but the makeup that I sell is 3D makeup, which allows you to highlight and contour your face in a super simple compact. As a mom, I could not survive without my simplified routine. Not only that, but it's exactly what you need. Exactly when you need it, all in one spot. Go ahead and check out Alanna Mizell on Instagram or alannamizell.com to learn more. And then December of my senior year, I had to get hip surgery. December 14th of 2007, I got
hip surgery.
Got my 3 labral tears removed in Boston. Yeah. And the night before my surgery.
So what was that feeling when you sat down with your parents and you kind of realized this is not going to go as planned? And on top of that, I still have to have a surgery, and I don't know how that's going to go.
So they really left it up to me. And they were just kind of like, you know, if I wanted to be on the sidelines every single game my senior year, they were going to let me do it.
Yeah.
They were not going to hold me back, but I was like, what am I doing? I need to be making money. I can't just be sitting around on the sidelines having fun. Like, that's not fruitful.
Your mindset completely shifted when you realized you were not going to be able to compete. You were like, I got to move on to the next thing to help.
There was no way for me to repair my hip enough to play, except for surgery. Every time I tried to run, the next day I couldn't walk. Not even to the point of like I physically could not walk. My hip would swell up twice the size of my other one. And all of the muscles around it, I now have bursitis and a bunch of different spots on my right leg. My knee got affected, my foot got affected, all of those things because your hip is so vital.
Yeah.
And the reason that it was so hard for them to find it is because you have 7 layers of tissue in your hip. And so it's like, there's so many other things that could go wrong. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was, I honestly don't remember the specific conversation. I just remember it was kind of like fight or flight. Like, we got to just close this season and keep it moving.
Keep moving.
Right. And I knew I wanted to play my senior softball. So,
okay.
And I couldn't play until April. So we start February, March or so for school softball. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't play till after my birthday in April, end of April. So I only played like a month and a half because my hip hadn't recovered yet. Because I had surgery in December.
And going through PT and all that.
Uh-huh. And I wasn't cleared yet. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot to take in. And
it's a lot.
We give all that context of like back when you were 11 years old and you...
I mean, you got to think, I played from 10 years old until I was 17. So 7 years of softball being a year-round thing. Year-round thing. At one point, my mom had catching gear to catch for me because I pitched. I was not a very good pitcher. That was like a pipe dream. But I knew that to actually become good, I had to practice a ton. And this winter going into my junior year, every Saturday, my dad drove me 45 minutes away to go to a different hitting coach.
Okay, so we give all this context because you're like leading up to what you think you're going to do.
Yeah, so I think I also had... I was like, I can't even remember what my percentage was as far as like my junior year. I was on fire.
Yeah.
I was on fire. I played every game at third. That was my spot. And like I just like had it that year. And softball wasn't as hard to play with my hip injury as field hockey was. Like I could not run. So you really can't play field hockey. But so I was playing softball on it. And I just really thought that a number of schools were going to call.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Not at all.
And no. And my grades were really good.
And so when you start getting the kind of the increments of like, okay, this is not going.
All the pieces going together.
Yeah. So how did you feel? Did you start to think like, is your coach not doing what they're supposed to do? Or what was that initial feeling of?
No. So, I mean, now knowing what college athletics looks like, there's a lot more that I could have done if I really understood like what I needed.
Yeah.
Like there was no film tapes of me playing softball, how there weren't my junior year. Like I probably could have gone somewhere. Like it was a matter of like, who have you gone to camps with and who do you know? Which is so athletics. But really, once I realized I wasn't going to be playing in college, I was like, I got to go do what I know best. And that's work. And that's work. That's just what I did. Is I just went to work.
So do you feel like the going to work helped you cope with missing your Big P?
There was no option. That was the only thing that I, like, that was the only way I knew how to cope.
Was going to work.
Yeah. It's not like I could go to the gym.
No, yeah.
I literally couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started putting in work.
Just started working a lot of hours.
A lot of hours.
So then I decided to come to Memphis, which... it was late. I was late in the game deciding
very late.
On Memphis.
If you guys have listened to our earlier podcast about Alanna's journey, check it out. But yes, she was very late to the game.
Very late. I give all the college counselors a heart attack.
Another kind of big P happens because you are on the road to recovery. You're feeling good, and you think about maybe walking on.
Well, okay, let's back up a little bit. Yeah. So my senior year, when I started applying to schools, I was like, well, since I'm not going to play field hockey and softball because I'm injured, then I'll apply to some of these bigger schools. So it was August. My mom brought me and a friend down to Florida State. We flew to Florida State, to Tallahassee from New Hampshire for the weekend so I could have a tour of that place. Now, looking at it, somebody should have said, chick, you have no shot of getting into Florida State.
But
you can't tell me that.
You can't tell you that. And then is it because you looked through it or you didn't get your initial big plan? So you're like, okay, well, I'll just use my academics and I'll just go to a larger platform at a big school because I think that's what I want to do.
I mean, like one of the requirements was top 5% in your class while I was. Like those kind of things. I was like, check, check, check. And I did so much community service. I was like, check, check. I was like checking all the boxes. But I think it was because I didn't go to a school for softball and field hockey that I felt like I needed to go to a school with a bigger name.
Ah, okay.
So I didn't get in, obviously. I got into Memphis, and it was between Memphis and a different school just outside of Boston. And some catastrophic things happened. I was sexually assaulted my senior year, and honestly, that was the decision that sent me to Memphis.
Yeah.
It was no other reason other than running away, but it took 12 years to actually say that.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of therapy. But what's ironic is I visited Florida State, flew down there. I never flew down to Memphis until my orientation. Hysterical. I was driving from one of my friend's houses back to my house so that my mom and I could get on the plane to come to Memphis. And I remember taking a picture and I was wearing a Florida State t-shirt. And I was about to come to Memphis. Yeah. So, and I always said, when I didn't get in, my parents were like, you can always transfer there.
Yeah.
So my plan was truly to get good enough grades at Memphis to transfer to Florida State.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
You were just on the slide.
I was just going to go. And Memphis just had a different plan for my life.
Memphis definitely had a different plan for your life.
Right. And so, like, that would be a big P, would be the goal to transfer. And then the reality was I came to Memphis for orientation, loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a sleeper. I love to sleep. I didn't sleep that night. I was having too much fun. And then I got here with my dad. Just my dad dropped us off in Memphis, and I knew one person.
Yep.
Totally fearless.
Yeah.
And nowadays, when Steve and I are looking at big decisions to make, I think back to that girl.
Yeah.
And just how different I am now. And there are facets of that girl that were spontaneous and not afraid of no plan.
Yeah.
I had no plan other than to potentially transfer. I had no idea what I was doing.
No idea at all.
The best part that ever happened to me at orientation was I met Carl Shando in the ACC, and he literally told me what classes to take.
Yeah.
Like, he was my dad down here, my grandfather, whatever you wanted to call it, and I turned to him. So there were people along the way that God put in my orientation that I knew I could call upon. And there was just a sense of this is where you're supposed to go.
So a few of your little P's were people.
Oh, for sure. And still now.
Yeah.
Still now I could call upon them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then after my freshman year of college, I said, hey, Dad, what do you think about me trying to walk on at Memphis? The softball team, to the point that I emailed the coach. I was already set up to walk on, all the things. The week before my dad and I are supposed to drive down because I was taking summer classes, the car that I was supposed to drive and keep at Memphis gets hit in an accident. The car is not going to be done in time.
No.
I've got to get to Memphis.
I get to Memphis.
Because I have class starting, and it wasn't online. It was in real life. So behind my dad's back, me and my mom go get me a car. And my mom co-signs on the loan. So there goes me playing softball. I got to now pay for the car.
You got to pay. You got to work.
Yeah, yet again. I got to do what I know and got to go work. Yeah. Best car I've ever bought.
It was the best car.
Best car. Camry.
Camry was awesome.
2003 Camry. I got her way under Blue Book value.
Under Blue Book value, and we rode her until she was ready to retire.
She retired. Yeah. Yeah. I learned so much in that time, and the amount of growth that I had because a big P didn't work out, because I was able to do leadership things. And
that's the consistent thing with you, is that these are some traumatic things, and let's not, sugarcoat it. I know you had your moments of your feelings. I know you sulked. We all sulk. But the fact that you still were able to lace them up, pull your bootstraps up, and say, you know what, I have to go through this, and I have to.
I honestly didn't sulk.
I
never closed my door and started crying. I don't remember a single time that happened.
Wow.
It was a matter of there's the decision, now keep going. There's the decision, now keep going. And that's how I've handled my anxiety since I was 11. There's the anxiety, now keep going. There's anxiety, now keep going. That's not healthy.
Yeah.
By any means. So now
true.
I'm 31 dealing with, I could literally break down in tears right now thinking about it. But I never felt like there was the option to break down.
You had to keep going.
You better figure it out. You got to keep going. You got to show up. And when you think about it, that's what sports teaches you, though.
Yeah.
Especially a mind game like softball or baseball that is literally created for failure. Mm-hmm. You think about it. So batting average, somebody batting well is batting 300.
300.
That's an F. That's a 30.
It's a 30.
That's a 30.
Yeah. But that's good in baseball and softball.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And the ERA is nominal.
Yeah.
You pretty much are setting yourself up to understand how to fail gracefully. Mm-hmm. And when you are struggling so bad within a game, you don't have an option.
Yeah.
And when you really think about it, you only can get subbed into a game. It's not like basketball where you can come out, recoup, and go back in.
Yeah.
In softball, you can only come out and go back in one time.
Yeah.
That's it. And then you cannot play again the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So if your team needs you, you better stop what you're doing mentally.
Yeah.
Refigure it out.
Reset.
And keep going.
Yeah.
So, that's what the game taught me. Reset, keep going.
And so you felt those moments, and like you said, we go through your big P's, and you literally did that.
Yeah.
So looking back on that, do you regret not taking those moments, or you're those moments of you going straight ahead have built you to be who you are today?
I think that they have built up my anxiety and my depression to be more significant than it needed to be. Because versus figuring out how to heal and express my feelings in the hurt and the pain that it caused.
Yeah.
I was more bound and determined to prove people wrong. I had a marketing teacher when I was in high school that said to me, I don't think you need to go to Memphis. It's just too big for you. Come hell or high water, Memphis wasn't going to be too big for me. But that's also not healthy.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I would rather prove all those that believe in me right.
Whoa.
Versus waste time on those that don't.
Yeah. So true.
And actually, one of my mentors, Rachel Jacobs, said that. What if you focus your goals and your plans on those that believe in you to achieve them versus proving others wrong?
No, I agree.
Which, guys, do that. Dig in. You guys, we literally only talked about me from 10 to 18, but those are monumental.
Those are monumental for you.
And even for Steven, those were monumental big P plans.
And I think before we wrap up, it's so impactful for you guys to listen to part 1 and part 2 and see how we both reacted to our big P's not going where we want to be, and how we both have taken those things and helped shape us to who we are today. And having this podcast and talking to you guys right now has helped us reflect on some of those things.
Right, and how we realize that there's a lot of emotions that we still need to pull back out. I do a speech called Excavate the Pain, which we talked about a few episodes back. But actually going in and excavating the pain from not playing softball and field hockey is something that clearly I need to do. I never thought about it. And that's why it's so important to lean on somebody that knows you well, and how Steven promptly asked questions and, kind of assumed that I had sulked and felt my feelings, because now that's what I do.
Yeah.
I've been taught and conditioned to do that. Now I do still pick up and keep going.
Yeah.
I will forever be that way, but he assumed I sulked when in reality I didn't. So now at 31, I've got to go back and sulk.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's okay.
And so Steven needs to go back and sulk around the fact that he's not on ESPN. Well, I mean, you were for College Game Day, but...
Yeah, but also... No, I was not on there. But also, yeah, you're right. I need to sulk. But I think my biggest thing is also channeling that inner confidence that I had no idea I had back then.
Yeah.
After I didn't get my opportunities, I think I was in my feelings maybe more than I should have been. But now looking back on it, I have not embraced the courage and embraced what I did to get there. I was kind of like just checking a box. Like, no, I didn't do that.
I would challenge, guys, I'm thinking about this on the fly, that how powerful would it be to go back to those people that really impacted your life and write them a handwritten letter and mail it to them?
I was just thinking, call some of the people. Yeah, handwritten would even...
Yeah. Because, I had one coach that we just butt heads so bad.
Yeah.
But now, and I told him off because I'm fearless, y'all. If somebody makes me mad or is disloyal to me, game on.
Tell you how she feels.
I'll love you until you are disloyal to me.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking back. I actually wrote him a 3-page letter telling him off. I'm sure he threw that one out. Anyway, now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, first of all, how awful of a human being. Yeah. Second of all, I didn't actually thank him for all of the things he did do. I just called out the things he didn't do.
Yeah, now you got me in my thought process of talking to that internship coordinator at MTV and calling my aunt that haven't
actually say, you know what? I never said thank you, but I see you. I see what you did for me, and it has shaped who I am now.
Yeah.
How powerful is that? You were a plan that I didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, for a long time, I thought that you got in the way of my big P plan. I thought you were the reason. But when you actually take ownership of everything that you do, you're 100% responsible for the actions that you take.
Yes.
100% responsible. So had I not played on my hip for 2.5 years, could I have played in college? I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's not on the coach that didn't play me the way that I wanted him to.
Yeah.
But I took it out on him. Right?
Yeah.
It's not on the MTV, director or whoever it was for you to not get the job at ESPN.
No.
But how much more gratitude can we show now when we were kind of channeling our anger at these people that didn't deserve it?
You're right.
And it's always going to be those that are closest to you. It's going to be your parents. It's going to be your coaches. It's going to be these people that have put so much effort and heart into you that you're so willing to break off from.
Yeah. All right.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. But it was beautiful,
a lot,
though.
you guys. So, challenge number 1, sit down with a friend that knows you well and start to go through some of your big P plans that didn't go the way you had planned.
Yeah.
And number 2, guys, after you do that, I think I'm going to sit down and write some handwritten letters to those people. And just be open, be vulnerable. And I'll tell you what, I think it can really help. It can help mend their heart. You don't know what they dealt with after.
Or what they didn't do right now.
And I know it's going to mend yours.
It's true.
Do it.
So good as a 2-part episode.
2-part episode. You guys, we could talk about the plans a whole lot more. And we are so grateful that what we thought was a little P plan, this podcast, is now becoming a big P plan. And we are so grateful for you guys.
And we're so grateful for Briggs Malone to co-host both of these episodes.
It's like a little bit of music in the background. You guys, every Tuesday we launch a new episode. Definitely check us out over at The Mizell Show on Instagram. Send us a message. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. And please, if you get a chance, do a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. Nothing less. I'm just kidding. Give us an honest review. We'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much. Are you loving The Mizell Show? Well, we love you all. And did you know that you can have me and Steven talk to your team or a group of 25 of your friends? All it takes is 25 people showing up on either a Zoom call, a Facebook Live, or really anywhere. Hopefully in person sooner rather than later. But how do you get us? So all you have to do is email themizellshow@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram @themizellshow.